convocations on the last page also. I don't know if you want to get there so you're ready. Okay. Whatever you need. Everybody's here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we're going to call this meeting to order at 6:25. We have a confirmation of the quorum. For those who you don't know, Mr. Kennedy is with his wife. They are awaiting the delivery. I guess she's...
Delivery of the baby.
The delivery of the baby. She was induced and they've scheduled a C-section, I believe. Is it this evening or soon? Anyway, hopefully we'll have a new future student of the Stratford school system, but we'll keep you updated. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence prayer for Dr. Clemmy, our grants administrator. Prayers for Gil Traverso and for Pam Mangini and her mother. Her mother's nearing the end of her life, so if we can have a moment of silence for them. Thank you. And then after we all stand, Mr. O'Brien.
Lord, we thank you for creating within each person the capacity for learning and for teaching. Thank you for educators and students who are growing in wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Joyful is the person who finds wisdom and gains understanding. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So, if any of you have seen the agenda, you'll notice it's changed from its past format. There were a number of policies that have been detailed that either don't exist or aren't pertinent to the issues they were referred to. So we've made some changes. I've also included opening remarks from the board chair. I think it's important that the chair has an opportunity to just update the public on where we are and what we're doing, what's going on. I'm going to start with a little story, and it's I don't know if anybody knows why railroad tracks are 48.5 inches wide. Whether you do or not, I'm going to tell you. The reason why the railroad tracks in the United States are 48.5 inches wide is because that's the way they were done in Europe. They were done in Europe because that was the size of the trolleys when the trolleys went in. The trolleys were made that size because they used the same size jigs for the ox-drawn carts. The ox-drawn carts were that size because those were the size of the ruts in the Roman roads. The reason why the ruts were that size in the Roman roads was because that was the width of the Roman chariots. And the reason why the Roman chariots were that width was because that was the approximate width of the backside of 2 Roman war horses. So, moving forward, this board will no longer let the decisions made by some horses behind back many, many years ago dictate how it does what it does. We're going to be doing things differently and hopefully more efficiently and better in a better manner, but we will no longer be dictated by the direction of the past. Thank you. Our assistant superintendent and superintendent, as you know, they are both on administrative leave. We are going through the legal process, making sure their rights are honored and respected. We will keep you updated as information becomes available, but we are going through the process, and the process is in place. I would be remiss if I did not say that if it was not for Ms. Heather Borges, this district would be in significant disrepair and disaster. She stepped up. We had talked prior to the process. She has stepped up and made this process seamless. She stepped into the role of acting superintendent, has done a phenomenal job, and without her, this district will be in a world of hurt. So I just want to say thank you. We would not be where we are without you, and we've had the opportunity to see what a phenomenal superintendent can look like. So thank you. As far as committees, there's been a little bit of talk about having diversity on our committees, and I wanted to go through some of the past committees so we can put that conversation into a little bit of context. 2 years ago, committees were made. On the curriculum committee, we had one person of color. The finance committee, we had 3 white individuals nominated. The school planning committee, all white members. The policy review, there are only 2 members, so there are actually no members from the public or the administration on that committee. The athletics review and planning, all white members. We have this committee, this board, this new board, has worked very hard to create a diverse environment, to involve all our community, all our staff, all our administrators. At the last meeting, I'd never even considered color or ethnicity as one of the issues that would dictate who was involved. There were people who were of quality. We've added, and we are adding members, and hopefully that will satisfy some of the naysayers as to who we are. But I just want to make sure that everybody knows, last 2 years ago, we had probably about 3 members of what would be, I guess, called diversity on our committee. So this board has done a significant, better job at doing that. We've worked hard to do it, and hopefully you'll appreciate our efforts. On the curriculum committee, the union will be adding 2 members as well. They have the right to do that, and I've spoken to Mr. Fiorello, and I believe he had stated they would be adding 2 additional members to our roster. So we look forward to seeing them. Ms. Borges, myself, the mayor, and Mr. Timniak met about 2 weeks ago to talk about a wide variety of things. For a long time, that channel of communication has been closed. We spent about 2 hours talking about a wide variety of things that included the budget, the Alliance District, capital improvements, workers' comp. It was a very productive conversation. The thing that surprised me the most about that whole conversation was how little each other side knew what the other was doing. The board was very unaware of a lot of things the town was doing. The town was very unaware of what the board was doing. And that was just based on a lack of communication. Over the last couple of years, that hasn't existed. So long as I'm on the board and the chair, I'll make sure that those channels remain open. It does nothing but serve us our better purposes to work hand in hand with the board. There's a lot of resources they give us now, in-kind contributions, but moving this district forward in a positive direction and not including the board is just detrimental to our success. So we'll continue to do that. We've begun to work on the Esser Cliff. For 2 years, members of this board, past members of this board, have begged that we start to look at that. We were dismissed and told there was nothing we could do, but it can be fixed, and this board will fix that in this budget session. We're going to begin to address that. It's going to take some steps. It should have been done years ago. It wasn't, and so now we're going to take charge and do that. I've spoken with the attorneys on different authorities of the board, whether it's hiring, Alliance District, a number of other issues. So we're going to take authority over things we have authority over and make sure that things will run smoothly. And, we had a typo in one of our committee assignments last month. But we've been pretty busy the last month. We've made a lot of good progress. The policy committee, the finance committee had very productive meetings. I'll let the chairman speak a little bit more about that. We have a packed committee, packed committee membership, and we've tried to reach out to staff, administration, board members, and the community to make space for them so that everybody's voice can be heard and that moving forward, everybody has a seat at the table. So I want to thank you. Moving on, we have a public forum. The first speaker will be Elaine Crosby, 662 Cedric Ave.
Good evening. I'm Elaine Crosby. I'm here to share a little history.
And what do you guys help me
one
with the
second.
microphone?
Can-
And make sure it's on, please.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank
Thank you,
you.
Danielle.
I'll start over. Good evening. I'm Elaine M. Crosby. I'm here to share a little history with you. In 1969, my sister, Linda Faye Dowell, was the first contractually hired black teacher at Stratford High School. I became the second black teacher hired in 1970. My name was Elaine M. Dillon. I became Crosby in 1980. I was in the school system for 31 years and the only black teacher at Flood for 23 years until I retired in 2001. However, I was at Stratford High School only 1 year because Flood was being built, and I was hired there in 1971. Eunice Sanderson was there with me for 7 years, the second black teacher. I believe that if something is named in honor of someone, there should be a history with that individual. I do not ever want to minimize anyone else's contributions, but those contributions must be kept in perspective of others. Not just one person's contributions, but all who dedicated themselves to education in Stratford should equally be considered. There are many factors to be considered when making such important decisions. Longevity shouldn't be the only consideration, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Thank you. And I must say that I was Jack Della Piano and Samantha's 8th grade English teacher at Flood Middle School.
And the next speaker will be Michael Suntag, 115 Allendale Drive.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Board of Ed, Acting Superintendent. My name is Michael Suntag. I'm at 115 Allendale Drive in Stratford. I'm addressing you as the chairperson of Citizens Addressing Racial Equity. We are a 16-year-old advisory group to the town of Stratford. Our focus is on addressing equity issues for all our children and citizens, and especially on racial equity issues in leadership in the town, police community relations, and in our schools. We have collaborated with the Stratford schools for many years, focused on the needs of our children, assisting the schools in ensuring equity of funding, personnel, and resources for a school system that is now well over 70% children of color. Our kids need adult decision makers that look like them. Teachers, administrators, board members. While the makeup of the board membership is by election, the subcommittees are by selection, and they do not look like the makeup of our student population. Therefore, it is hard for the public to determine where the board stands on ensuring diversity, inclusion, and racial equity by the actions that it has taken. The chair has ascribed responsibility to the Democrats for diversity. This is not about political parties. This is about representing all constituents of the school community with the goal of ensuring equity for all our kids. Right now, 2 of the highest black administrators are on suspension. While these are personnel issues, they add to the speculation that the board does not see diversity and equity as an important goal. Transparency is critical here as perceptions become realities. We all know that happens. We are here to support what our parents and children need to be successful in school. To support you in the heavy responsibility of leading the board in the pursuit of decisions that will enhance the lives of our young people. We are willing and able to work with you to solve those issues you're facing. We meet the first Wednesday of every month on Zoom at 7 p.m. Feel free to join us, as many of you have. And anytime, to participate in our discussions, present updates, and to get feedback on decisions. I appreciate, Mr. Chair, your statements today about diversity. It has to be intentional, and we have to look like our community, the demographics of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? No? All right, we will conclude the public session and move on to our student reports, and ask that Daniel Brennan come up and give his report.
Good evening. I would like to start off by welcoming everyone back, and I sincerely hope that you had a wonderful holiday season, and all of us at SHS wish you a happy and healthy new year. Additionally, I would like to welcome our new acting superintendent, Mrs. Heather Borges, and Mr. Christopher Cormier, Mr. Bill O'Brien, and Mrs. Jill D'Angelo Powers to the Board of Education. Welcome. Today marked the end of midterms and finals at Stratford High School. Although weather delayed the start, midterms were ran very well by the school. It is a very bittersweet feeling knowing that my senior year is already halfway through, but there's a lot to look forward to in the near future. On Monday and Tuesday, December 11th and 12th, our winter concerts took place. Over the 2 nights, our band, jazz band, strings, and choir performed for capacity crowds with amazing skill, talent, and grace. Wednesday, December 13th, Stratford and Bunnell High School, in conjunction with James Olshan and the Stratford Partnership for Youth and Children, Stratford Community Services, hosted parents from all schools for a screening of Screenagers Under the Influence. This focused on the struggles children of today face with social media and substance abuse. The viewing was powerful and insightful. Both Stratford and Bunnell will be hosting a SAT Parent Night on January 25th in the Stratford High School auditorium. All parents are welcome to attend, in person or virtually, to learn more about the school community engagement, the new digital SAT assessment, and College Board's practice resources. Flyers will be distributed for free after-school SAT prep. Transportation and snacks will be provided. The Stratford High School senior class recently started a fundraiser called Slime Night. People of all ages are welcome to attend the event and make some slime. For every slime made, $8 will be donated to the senior class for activities and fun throughout the rest of the year. With that, the senior class also has been working very hard on their Portrait of a Graduate slideshows during advisory periods. It is very important to get these slideshows done because it is a part of our graduation requirement. The school counseling department has been busy meeting with students regarding their semester 2 schedules and providing students with tutoring resources in order to best prepare students for their midterm and final exams. The beginning of the calendar year means that our counselors have also been preparing for course selection for the 24 through 25 school year. They review graduation requirements and course options with students. One-on-one course selection meetings are scheduled to begin on February 1st. An on-site application day for all Connecticut Community College will be scheduled in the upcoming weeks. This will allow all students to complete their community college application with a school counselor to provide any assistance needed. Additionally, Chelsea DeLucia from Contact Inc. Educational Opportunity Center has continued to come to Stratford High every other week to support students with their college applications, scholarship searches, and FAFSA applications. Stratford High School, along with Bunnell High School, will be hosting 2 in-person FAFSA events open to all students. Stratford High School's event will be January 25th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. in the cafeteria, where over 30 families have signed up to attend. Pizza will be provided for families. This event will allow Stratford High to progress towards their State of Connecticut FAFSA challenge goal. In the Humanities Department, Mrs. Indiviri's International Relations students attended Model United Nations this past weekend. Yale Model United Nations is a 4-day international relations simulations for high school students held at Yale University's campus in New Haven. At Model UN, delegates from all over the world interact with one another through debate and diplomacy to solve complex challenges facing the world today. Stratford High students act as delegates and learn to navigate through the intricacies of international negotiation and teamwork adopt new perspectives, and develop comprehensive resolutions on pressing global issues. I took part in attending this trip to Yale, and I must say it was a great time. I was able to interact and meet people from all over the world while trying to solve global issues that impact many of us all. My committee was the Disarmament Committee, which focused on whether we should keep nuclear weapons or get rid of them. Many opinions were shared, and delegates collaborated with one another on how they felt the issue should be handled. On top of that, we also got to explore and see Yale New Haven's historic campus, which was really great. This was the first time for me, and I was amazed by how awesome it was. I'd like to personally thank Mrs. Indiviri and Mr. DeCenzo for taking us and making it a great experience for all. The Stratford Crier newspaper partnership with Miss Lynch's journalism course is underway at Stratford High School. Barbara Heimlich of the Stratford Crier will be entering classes on January 31st to discuss opportunities for students to work with town newspaper editors. Students will be submitting their articles for publication in this authentic learning experience. In the math department, members of the Stratford High School Math Honor Society will begin supporting select classes, offering in-class tutoring help during semester 2. The Stratford High School math team continues to show promise as their scores improve with each math team competition they participate in. And SHS math teachers are busy completing their NWEA and CFA assessments. They also continue to collaborate on their implementation of the Building Thinking classroom practices. In the science department, members of the Stratford High School's Science National Honor Society members are planning to offer after-school tutoring for students who might need extra support in science. The SHS science teachers are busy administrating the NWEA and midterm exams and are looking forward to the new semester. Now on to our sports. Run by Mr. Tyler, the football team has started their winter training program, where they meet after school 5 days a week to lift weights and work on their skills in order to prepare for next football season. Tonight is also the Stratford High School football banquet, where the players and coaches of the 2023 through 24 football season will get together as one for the last time and celebrate the season that we went through together. There will be a nice team dinner and awards will be given to seniors who have earned them, as well as senior football jackets. Along with the topic of sports, here's what has been going on for our winter sports teams. Wrestling is 3-2 in league play. They have also competed in 5 weekend tournaments, one where they recently placed in top 5 of 20 teams. Several wrestlers competed at the Eastern States Invitational, and SHS senior Lindsay Rywalt took first place in the female division. They will host Bunnell for senior night on Wednesday, January 31st at 6:00 p.m. Boys basketball held their annual alumni game this past Saturday and had a record turnout for former athletes and coaches. They are holding a boys youth night on Monday, January 29th at 7:00 p.m. All boys dressed in their Stratford Recreation team jersey will get free admission to the game and play in a short basketball game during halftime. Oh wait, hold on, sorry. To all the new Board of Education members, as well as the ongoing board, I look forward to speaking with you for the rest of the year. Thank you all and have a wonderful evening.
Freya? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Alfred.
Alfred?
Yes, sir. Board of Education. Good evening, everyone. First, I want to introduce myself. My name is Baram Alfred. I'm a senior at Bunnell High School. I hope you enjoyed your new year and the holidays and the break. I want to congratulate the new members and the active superintendent and the assistant superintendent on the position. Bunnell looks forward to working with your leadership, and I look forward to working with you all this year. And it is my pleasure to be addressing you this evening. First, starting off, we would like to congratulate Bunnell High School business teacher, Ms. Maza, and our DECA club receiving another national recognition. Bunnell's DECA chapter earned 2 awards from DECA Inc. The first was the Achievement Membership Award. Our chapter grew from roughly 30 to 60 students in 1 year. We were only one of 5 schools in Connecticut to receive this recognition. The second award is the Thrive Chapter Campaign Award. Bunnell was given the highest marks for our community service. Starting off with the departments, first we have our Humanities Department. We proudly announce that the Bunnell 2023 yearbook was rewarded first place by the American Scholastic Press Association. We're also excited to announce that our school newspaper, The Scribe, has published this year's first edition. At the conclusion of my report, I will give and pass a yearbook and some copies of the newspaper so you guys can look at it. Students in African American, Black, Puerto Rican, and Latino study courses visited the Ruby and Calvin Fletcher African American History Museum to reinforce their learning. Moving on to our guidance department. The school counseling department is continuing to process college applications for seniors. Mid-year reports will be sent out to schools at the close of the semester. A FAFSA Challenge workshop was held on Saturday, January 20th, where 15 families attended. School counselors will be meeting individually with each student from grades 9 to 11 to discuss teacher-student future schedules for the upcoming academic year. Moving on to our band. The indoor guard and indoor drumline are hard at work and preparing for the competition season. The indoor drumline and color guard can be seen at our home show on March 16th at Bunnell High School. The concert band and wind ensemble have started preparing the music for the spring concert in May. Our Bunnell High School stage is proud to announce that our spring production is 9 to 5, the musical. We will be holding auditions this week and will jump into rehearsals starting next week. Moving on to our choir. The choir is going to Wilton High School on February 2nd to work with Wilton High School's choir and the world-renowned Westminster College Choir from New Jersey. There will be a concert that night where some of our own choir students will be performing with the Westminster Choir. Senior Stephanie Lupo will be performing in an honor choir in Providence. Lupo is part of the American Choral Directors Association. She's one of the first choir students in Bunnell history to be accepted into this prestigious ensemble. We are very proud of her. Our student government. The junior class announced the ring dance theme, which is Starry Night. They are still in the process of planning the ring dance, which will be held at Visano's Four Seasons on March 15th. Moving on to our extracurriculars and leadership groups. The Women's Empowerment Club is hosting a book drive for the Center of Family Justice in Bridgeport. Books can be donated to the main office of Bunnell High School. Members of Bunnell's MOC, LNC, and SOL were panelists at the Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration at the Baldwin Center. We are proud of how Madison Thomas Ferguson, Wisdom Nawazi, and Nathan DeLima represented our school. Bunnell's MOC and LNC are welcoming a group of student leaders from Norwalk High School to the building on January 30th. The Norwalk High School students would like to know more about how we started our student leadership groups and how they can replicate what we've done at our school. Bunnell Bulldogs in Training plans on taking a trip to Flood and Second Helene on January 25th, where students will engage in team building and goal-setting activities. Next, we have our athletics department. Divinity Rosa, dance, and Kaden Morin, wrestling, have been recognized as January Athletes of the Month. Diallo Cowan, boys soccer, and Penos Carchipioles, football, were recognized at recent all-state banquets for their outstanding seasons this past fall. Jason Vanterpool set a new school record, which was previously set in 2012, for the indoor track 55-meter dash with a time of 6.54 seconds, which is amazing. In conclusion, thank you all very much for your time and allowing me to update you all what's going on in Bunnell. Have a nice rest of the evening. Thank you.
We thank both you gentlemen for your time and your update, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you. Moving forward, so the awards and the award and accolade presentations were also removed from the agenda. If the superintendent feels the need to do that, we will more than likely be doing those before our meeting in the future. So they will no longer be a part of this agenda. So moving forward, the superintendent's executive report.
Dear board members.
And you have 3 positions, so you can just run right through it.
Yep, so dear board members and community members, tonight's report will be a combined report. It'll be the acting superintendent's executive report, as well as the teaching and learning report and the pupil service report. First, they already left, but I wanted to make sure that I extend my sincere appreciation to the outstanding student representatives for constantly highlighting the powerful and positive impacts with our educational community. Their dedication is commendable. I am pleased to provide the board with an update on the measures taken during the current need for assistance in both the assistant superintendent position and the grants administrator position. Following consultation with the board attorney and in accordance with state law and the current existing bylaws, I've exercised the authority to appoint temporary administrative substitutes. I am delighted to announce that Arlene Gottesman, a retired assistant superintendent familiar with our district and prior experience in this role, has accepted the position on a per diem basis, and it is important to note that this appointment can be terminated at any time. I'm excited to welcome her, and I appreciate her support. Additionally, we have appointed Chris Carroll, the town's grant administrator, familiar with the state EGMS system and experienced in writing grants for Sterling House, on a per diem basis for part-time substitute support to the vacant grant administrative position, as well as Pat Naylor, who will also be providing part-time support for the readiness grant while we continue to search for a replacement for Kevin. Now I'm going to move on to the teaching and learning report. Our wonderful student speakers do such a great job with the high schools that I'm going to focus on our middle and elementary schools updates for the Board of Education. The Fine Arts, Music, Health, and Physical Education Department are progressing well. These departments collaborated on their twice-annual newsletter and highlighted exciting events in the schools. On January 23rd, they're going to celebrate the end of the winter concert season with performances at Wilcoxon, Stratford Academy, Johnson House. They are also very excited to announce that they have finished multiple interviews for candidates to fill the current vacant music positions and should have some very exciting news soon regarding those positions. World Language, Dual Language, and ESOL department is hard at work taking the Last Links English Proficiency Assessment. This will happen through February. This data allows us to continue to support our English language learners in the Stratford Public School. In addition, that department is excited to announce that this year they're adding family tours of the dual language program to the Second Hill Lane Elementary School. I have some updates for kindergarten orientation, age change, and our screener. Kindergarten orientation presentation will be virtual, held on January 31st at 6 p.m. Due to the kindergarten age change, the district team is undergoing training in the new Sparkler app. Sparkler helps families understand their children's development through age-based assessments and screeners. These will drive the conversations that happen during the waiver requests. Now for some quick elementary highlights. Elementary is in the middle of mid-year assessments, report cards, and mid-year conference planning. They're in the process of waiting to receive free K-3 grade level books from the State Department of Education. Once all the books have arrived to us, they're going to be distributed to the elementary schools for classroom distribution. This week, the 6th grade students are excited about kicking off their participation in the Governor's Computing Challenge through their library media classes. This is the first time the Stratford Public Schools has participated in this statewide coding competition. A reminder to the Stratford community that our elementary schools still need support in reaching 1 million beverage can tabs. So far, they have over 600,000 collected and would like to reach their goal by the end of the school year. Our 4th graders in all the elementary schools are in the middle of their invention convention projects. The schools will start showcasing these inventions in mid-February, and they are looking for volunteers to assist with judging, so please reach out if you're interested. Teachers participating in the soft launch for the Into Reading program are now working with coaches in the classroom, receiving coaching and feedback on the program and on the science of reading strategies. I'm going to shout out some specific schools. Chapel has started with the Battle of the Books initiative. This is promoting literacy across all classrooms. Their voting day is January 22nd, and it's going to be followed by a Drop Everything and Read event, as well as Winter Bingo, hosted by their PTA. At Second Hill Lane, they are having World Read Aloud Day, which is scheduled for February 7th, and all the board members have received an invitation to read to a class, and I hope you will take Mr. Hicks up on that invitation. Stratford Academy Johnson House entered the 2024 school year with a school-wide focus on social and emotional learning, relationship building, and the school community participated in what they call Camp Bobcat for the first time. Throughout the camp, adults and children were able to make new friendships and form stronger community bonds and set a positive, optimistic tone for the second half of the school year. At Franklin Elementary School, they had their SOAR assembly to celebrate the great work and accomplishment of the Falcons, and they are very proud to announce that they are running before and after school programs to encourage academic engagement and enrichment for their students. At Nichols, they are working collaboratively with Stratford High School's National Honor Society. Those students are coming to Nichols to support classrooms and students during the school day. Nichols has a read aloud day with amazing guest readers. They celebrated and learned about Three Kings Day. They called it Mirrors versus Windows Conversation, and this event was made possible due to the funds from a Best Committee grant. On to some quick middle school highlights. Kudos to both middle schools for completing the NWEA assessment before the window. Preliminary numbers indicate that the math growth median for the middle school is at the 70th percentile. Worcester Middle School would like everyone to know that they're having their cultural fair on January 24th and that they just had their National Junior Honor Society induction on January 18th. Flood Middle School is excited to announce that Unified Sports will be starting on February 2nd and that they also have just had their National Junior Honor Society starting this week. I'm going to make a community connection and shout out. Sarah North is actively recruiting for the 11th cohort of Parent C, scheduled to begin on February 3rd. We have 20 enthusiastic parents currently registered, and if there are any additional families, please reach out to Sarah at norths@stratka12.org. The Spanish-speaking session of Raising Highly Capable Kids, led by Migda Carrero, graduated 17 parents this month, and Amanda Joy is registering parents for the English-speaking session that will begin on February 29th. The Stratford's Parents Place will also begin winter parent and child activity groups on January 26th, welcoming over 60 families for connections with peers and parent educators. Last update is from the PPS update. As requested by the board, I have provided you with discipline data updates, and so I wanted to remind you that one of the focuses this year was that we use our code of conduct along with restorative practices to positively impact the student discipline rate. I've provided each of you with a graph comparing the 22-23 data to the 23-24 data, showing a positive decrease in student suspensions in most months. In addition, I have provided you the data on AIP and the impact of this powerful new program. I trust that these updates provide a comprehensive overview of the recent developments within our district. Your continued support and engagement is crucial as we work together to ensure the success of our students. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Borges? Can you give us just a little bit more detail on the charts?
Yep. So when you look at your chart, it should be color-coded, okay? What you're gonna see is the first column is gonna be the amount of in-school, out-of-school, and bus suspensions for September of last year, and then September of this year, okay? So the second graph shows you the decrease in number of students. That's how this whole graph works. Obviously, once you get to February, March, April, we're not there yet. Okay, so those only have last year's data. What I provided with you to help you understand the impact a little more is your detailed data sheet on AIP, okay? So even though we still have students continuing to have exclusionary discipline, because we have created the AIP program and are educating our students that get out of school suspensions, we have prevented 1,340 absences to date this year, which I think is amazing. Just to keep you, updated on that, Stratford currently, remember when we started this year, we had the big presentation and we looked at 28% chronic absenteeism. We're down to 14%. That's a huge improvement already this year. In addition to that, it just gives you the breakdown so you can see how many students in our areas of need, attendance, substance, violence-related threats, verbal and physical aggression. So it breaks down how many students are getting referred and shows you that right now we've only had 4 repeat students. That is a huge improvement. So it's important for you to see that yes, even though you have a couple months in which we had a slight increase in the number of students based on last year, overall, we are seeing an improvement and our principals are adjusting to the code of conduct and we are adjusting to making sure that we are supporting our students so that they are not repeating actions that got them in trouble in the first place. You guys asked for the transparent data, and I wanted to make sure that you had it.
Thank you. So you said we went from 23 to 14% in our
28 to 14%.
28. So that's a 50% decrease, or 100%, whatever, however you want to look at
Not
it.
100%, but it's a
Yeah.
lot of decrease, and we're heading in a very good direction. It is still early in the year, you know, and we still need our students to continue to show up to school every day.
So what do you attribute that? Is it solely because of this, the AIP
No,
program?
you know, I think it has a lot to do with your family and community outreach.
Mhm.
It has to do with our principals working hard to get our students in school every day.
Mhm.
It has to do with our teachers engaging the students to make them want to be in school every day. And it has to do with our wonderful families working to make sure their students are in school every day. I think that we started with a lot of really strong initiatives, and we have put actual systems and supports in place to make this happen. So you are seeing the rewards of the systems and supports that are in place, right from, you know, central office creating a system down to your schools creating that connection to make sure our students are there.
And there was some conversation probably about 6 months ago about weather-related. At some of the high schools, there was a significant increase on rain days, and whether looking at busing or adjusting our busing would help remedy that. Has that data been looked into, or?
Not to a deep level. And we can, you know, we are seeing a huge impact right now, and that is additional conversations that the principals can continue to have, and we can continue to look at as we work with our bus company.
Yeah, I mean, if that was just an anomaly, then so be it, but if, especially moving into budget season and as we.
Keep moving in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely, but if that's an impact, and if that has a significant impact, then looking at how we address the transportation issues might be another positive step.
And we can definitely get you some data based on absences and weather.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Any other? Mr. Cormier?
Thank you, Ms. Borges. My question for you is, you gave a little bit of information a week ago about Project Uplift, and I think it's a really fantastic program. Can you give us, the other members of the board, a little bit of information on how it works, but also the follow-up after the kids leave the program, when instead of them being home and out of school suspension going through the program, what the follow-up is for them, because that's what really intrigued me, because it's the one thing that's going to cut back their, I think it's really going to cut back on their resurgence.
Yeah. So Project Uplift, first to start, is a federal grant that we received.
Yeah, nice.
Project Uplift is a federal grant that we received. So we have hired 3 mental health professionals, a special education teacher, and a couple tutors through that grant. They work with students, not just students that get referred for discipline, but students that may be struggling with chronic absenteeism or may be struggling in school. The referrals come from multiple places. Referrals can come from our police department, referrals can come from Stratford Community Services, and referrals can come from our principals. When those referrals come in, they're reviewed and they're sent to the Project Uplift team. The Project Uplift team assigns the students a case manager. Okay, and those case managers make the connections with the parents and with the students to create the plan to help that student be successful. Some of those plans are because a student may have received exclusionary discipline and they need a re-entry plan, so they help the student create a re-entry plan and the connection with the principal so they can try to make right what was done that was not okay and how they can try to make sure that doesn't happen again. But sometimes they continue to see Project Uplift. Just because you came and you saw them for 10 days, Project Uplift may be assigned to you and they may continue to follow up with you because you may become on their caseload, okay? And that's the numbers that you're seeing down here. So they've had referrals of 179 students total. And it breaks up how those students were referred and why. And then our Project Uplift team works to help those students be successful. And it's a continued process. You could go through many cycles with Project Uplift before you exit the program, or you may go through one cycle and you may be doing wonderful and you would then exit from that program and move back to just being serviced from the school social workers, psychologists, school counselors, principals, and staff they have there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's great that we're swinging back around to pick up some kids that might have gotten dropped in the past, and
We definitely
I think it'll help them feel like they belong again.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Just in reference to the Uplift grant, is there a timeline on that, or?
The Project Uplift grant is a 3-year grant.
Okay. And
We're on year 2.
Year 2, is there any discussion about, is it a state grant or a federal grant?
A federal grant.
Okay.
So we will be able to reapply,
Mhm.
and we are in the process of continuing to show our data to them so that we can say our program is successful and we deserve to reapply to continue this. It is similar to your police department. The police department in Stratford also got a grant, a federal stop grant, and so they will also have that opportunity. So these stop grants are really targeted to try to help students that are dealing with either aggression or substance or school avoidance.
Any other questions? No? And just so, I had spoken to Ms. Mangini, had given her the night off. She gave her report at our finance committee meeting and felt it might be redundant for her to come again this evening and give the same report. And now looking at it, it came at a timely manner for her and her personal life. But moving forward, depending on how things progress, we will more than likely have her report given at the finance committee meeting, unless she has new information or updates to give us at this meeting. I don't want to make her come out unnecessarily just to give us the same report. So, the attorney's report. Mr. Dugas was here earlier. I had asked him to give us some information on hiring authorities, board versus superintendent. He had given that as part of his board orientation. He spent about an hour and almost a whole hour and 15 minutes updating the board or informing the board on what our responsibilities are, what the law says, and the rules that we're supposed to follow. So for me, it was very informative. I've been doing this for 2 years. I learned a lot, and we may bring him back again, but hopefully on a monthly basis we can get somebody from his office here just to give us reports on what's going on legally within the district, what responsibilities and roles and changes we have. I've also included state legislators' report. Ms. Dancho, one of our state reps, is here. I had asked her to give us updates on what to expect from Hartford, what we should be advocating for, and I gave her the authority to pick any legislator or senator from our district she chose to have come speak to us. But tonight she's here, and so we'd like to ask her to, respectfully ask her to come up and speak to us and inform us on Hartford's goings-on.
Hartford, yes. Thank you, Chairman Henrik, for inviting me here today, and thank you also to the continuing Board of Ed members as well as the new members, newly elected members, and to acting Superintendent Ms. Borges. So I am Laura Dancho. I'm one of 3 state representatives that the town of Stratford has, and I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about a little bit of what I know about my past year in Hartford. I am not on the Education Committee, however, I'm on the Finance Committee, Transportation and Environment Committees. However, all of this legislation does come through the General Assembly. There was 8 bills that came through last year, and I think that a lot of you are familiar with what was discussed. I'm happy to go through that with you, or I'm available to answer any of your questions on that. But basically, a brief overview would be SB 1, which that's the transparency in education. So it's a lot of mandates for board members, the Board of Education through Hartford to the State Department of Education. The other one was House Bill 5003, which is the one that I was most interested in, and that had to do with the funding for the town alliance districts and the proposed ECS funding for towns like Stratford. There's also legislation that reduced the number of alliance districts from the current 33. They're going to reduce the alliance towns down to 20. But this year, some of the legislation is going to focus on funding for student breakfasts in school, as well as some continuing free lunches for some of the students that are eligible for free or reduced lunches, and making them at no cost to the parents. So I guess my main goal here today is to just let you know that we are here to be your voice, to be your liaison up in Hartford, and I'm happy to talk with anyone either now or afterwards about more detail of what we did last year. And although I'm not on the education committee, I do know some of the bills that are coming forward, and this one on the free and reduced lunches and the breakfast is one that I'm aware of. But that's, our session doesn't start until February 7th, so I don't have any really preview of what is going to be coming before us starting on February 7th. The only thing I'm really sad about is that I can't participate in the Read Aloud Day at Second Hill Lane because I will be up in Hartford. But if anybody wants to ask me questions about some of the detail of what happened last year, I can answer that to the best of my ability now or at another time. But basically, I appreciate being here, and I think that this is also an important connection between what I was elected for, to be your voice in Hartford, and I'm happy to continue to do that.
Is there any questions for Ms. Dancho? Ms. Bedell?
You mentioned SB 1, the Transparency in Education Act. Is there anything notable that's going to come out of that act that you think should be brought to the attention?
So my opinion of SB 1 when it was brought to us last year in front of the General Assembly is that it contained a lot of mandates that are going to be unfunded. And I didn't think that that was a great idea for our town. So it's been modified, and some other bills were incorporated into it. It's a huge bill. It's got about 80 plus sections to it. But basically, it's, I have the detail here. It's a lot of requirements for alliance funding, district funds. It's going to require you to establish a family resource center in every elementary school. The Office of Fiscal Accountability says that there's probably not going to be the appropriate funding in the alliance money that's being allotted to fund this. So this is something that is going to cost the town money in the long run. So that to me is the biggest thing. 5003 talked about the education cost sharing funding. That formula has been updated, and it's going to benefit our town. I believe that we can expect a pretty good increase for this fiscal year 25 coming up, and that we're going to be getting more money from the state.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I can give you a number, but it's just proposed, and I don't want to really say anything that I'm not really sure of, because it hasn't been, it's all proposed, so.
Those numbers typically aren't finalized.
Right.
Like
It'll
May or
be,
June,
I
right?
could tell you that it'll be more than we got last year, which was a little over 28 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? No. So, the kindergarten enrollment, can you kind of just tell us how that played out, and kind of what discussion went into that, and how much impact towns or CABE or some of the advocates had?
So, as I mentioned before, I'm not on the education committee, but it was debated quite extensively on the floor. And I also attended a CEA breakfast, legislative breakfast, that was held a couple of months ago in Trumbull. And a lot of the superintendents had a lot of information on that I found very insightful. Apparently, Connecticut is one of 2 states that did not have an early kindergarten start date of September 1st. So that was probably one of the main reasons why the Education Committee proposed this legislation and wanted to move forward with it. It's unfortunate that we didn't have a little bit more support from the State Department of Education as far as implementing this procedure. It was sort of legislated, and then every town was left to figure it out on their own, which is pretty much what we're doing in our town. So, But that's basically the main reason, is we were one of a very few states who didn't already have that.
And I know Ms. Borges is hard at work at making that work. Do you have Ms. Borges, anything you'd like to add or request for advocacy or?
Nope, but I was just gonna come see you after and say that I would really love some time to sit down with you. I've spent quite a bit of time the last few days with superintendents around the state, and there are some specific requests in regards to the right to read legislation,
Yes.
as well as the kindergarten legislation, that I was encouraged to sit with our representatives and speak about. So I would
I'm
love
ready
that
when
time.
you are.
Awesome.
So, and one of the things we've done, as I mentioned earlier, is we have sat down, Ms. Borges, myself, have sat down with the mayor to try and open those channels of communication, and it would be awesome if we can continue this. You know, if you guys can communicate offline, whether Ms. Borges can give us, or whoever when our superintendent returns, or new superintendent, whatever that person may be, can keep us updated on what we should be advocating for, what we should be looking out for, how that's going to impact our future. But the more we know, the better prepared we'll be, and it'll allow us to act more efficiently and effectively. So,
Yeah, I can absolutely do that. I know that when we start our session on February 7th, we'll be giving a list of things that are going to be discussed for that day. So whenever anything education-wise comes up, I'm always ready for that. So, of course.
so any other questions, comments? Mr. O'Brien.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Am I? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thanks for being here, Laura, and keep up the good work.
You're welcome.
And continue to fight against those mandates that are unfunded that I cannot stand.
Working hard at that. Thank you.
Ms. Bedell?
Just a quick question. Ms. Borges, at the finance meeting, you gave us an update as to how many people had contacted you about assessment for kindergarten registration. Do you have an updated number on that?
Yes, we are approaching 30 now.
Thank you. Approaching 30.
Out of the 92 we're aware of. But remember, there can be many students we're not aware of.
Any other questions, comments? No? Ms. Lagudas, if you could, moving forward on the agenda, if you could put the attorney's report and the state legislator's report above the administrator's report, just so when these folks come, they don't have to sit around. I mean, they're welcome to stay if they like, but just so we can use their time more effectively, and I know they're busy with their own
Thank you.
personal lives,
Been a
their
long day.
elected lives, and professional lives. So, but we do appreciate you coming. We look forward to continuing this conversation and hearing updates as you guys get busy in Hartford. I know it gets hectic, and
Yes, I hope to have more once we start our session, and that's going to be early next month. So.
yeah, I think this is a good start, and we appreciate it, and look
Yeah.
forward to future communications.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving forward, consent agenda. I look for acceptance of the meeting minutes from November 27, 2023, December 5, 2023, December 11, 2023, December 21, 2023, and January 4, 2024. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr.
Second.
Bedell.
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Brien. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. We have no budget transfers. Personnel documents, if you read the policy, does not include personnel documents, so I've moved that out of there. We have a number of hires. I would look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bedell,
No second.
second by Mr. O'Brien. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Proposed policies for second read. The food service policies came to the board a little while back. It wasn't, the committee, the policy committee didn't have an opportunity to review it. At the time, there were only 2 members on the committee, and they weren't able to meet, so it got pushed up to the board. But in discussions in policy, the new committee had asked to review that. So I asked to have this on here just so we might be able to table it, allow the committee to review it, and and then we can move forward from there with their recommendation. Take a motion to table.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Ms. Carol Fabian, second by Ms. Bedell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. So once we get the recommendations from the policy committee, we'll move forward on that. Committee assignments, I've provided.
Mr. Chair, can I just formally ask, Ms. Lygoudis, if those policies can be sent either electronically or a paper version to the new members? Because I believe our first read was before they joined the board, so that they have access to those policies to read through.
And I think Mr. Cormier has a copy. Yeah. So I guess you can send them out in email format, and if anybody needs hard copies, you can request that from Ms. Lygoudis, and she'll find a way to get them to you.
Yeah, I think it's just.
Thank you. So as far as committee assignments, I put a list together. This will kind of finalize our committees. School planning, Pres Palmer, 44 Curtis Place, Stratford. Brian Masler, who's the head custodian for Bunnell High School. Policy Committee, Dr. Carla Armistead, principal at Chapel Elementary School. The Naming Committee, Andrea Fonseca, administrator, Worcester Middle School. Alec Vacola, resident. Leanne Bradford, parent, 252 Riverdale Drive. Guillermo Herrera, 70 Dawn Drive. Celeste Burnett, 483 Cedric Drive. And on the Curriculum Committee, Kiana Taylor, assistant principal at Flood Middle School. The names from the teachers union will come forward. It's at their pick, so just so we can have their names on the roll once you decide who those members are, and Ms. Lygoudis, but we don't vote on those, so I didn't include them this evening. So take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. O'Brien, second by Mr. Bedell. Any discussion?
I know we had discussed at our initial meeting with the Athletic Review Committee adding the members of the Bulldog and the Red Devil booster clubs, and I know we discussed it further at that meeting, at our first Athletic Review meeting.
So I did talk to Mr. Kennedy. He said he didn't have an opportunity to reach out to them and speak, so it asked that he was willing but wanted to speak to them first.
Okay.
So we can add them in at our February meeting, or if there's a special, if there comes a time before then where we have a meeting, we can squeeze them in and include that as part of our, but he said he was okay with it, but just wanted to talk with him first, and we'll do it at that time.
All right.
Is that fair? Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Table items, residency. I don't know, Ms. Borges, I know you've been very busy, so I don't know if you have any type
I
of...
do not have an update on residency for you,
Okay.
but I can send one to you via email.
Based on your workload, we'll let you slide on that one, so we appreciate it. Moving on to committee reports. Curriculum did not meet. Mr. Kennedy is not here. I don't know, Ms. Carol Fabian, I don't know if you've had any discussions, or I know they've been working behind the scenes to get things started, but I don't know if you're aware.
I have not been made aware of anything.
Okay. Finance Committee, Ms. Bedell.
Yep, we had our first meeting on January 10th. We introduced new members of the committee, discussed the schedule and process for the budget of 2024 and 2025. Budget process will begin with a presentation on February 5th. We also received reports from Ms. Mangini regarding the current status of the budget. We're definitely watching a few areas, including special education. And at that point in the year, or end of December, we were kind of running on par with where we thought we should be, just maybe not in all the right areas. So we're watching closely. We also discussed a little bit of the anticipated 2024-2025 budget, and discussed, very high level about, the ESSER grants coming to an end, and, some things to look at. And that was about it. There were no budget transfers or anything like that. It was a very good meeting.
School planning, our first meeting will be Thursday, February 1st. SLAM will be there to do a presentation about the information they've gathered to date in regards to any potential redistricting. Two of, I think, the big issues that started this process were overpopulated, underpopulated schools, balancing the enrollment and the racial balancing within our schools. So they'll be presenting those surveys. They had asked about our desire whether to move the 6th grade based on they're in the process of doing those studies of the schools, the space, the assessments. We sent out a survey to the based on their request for information. We sent out a survey to the staff to gauge their thoughts on that. We're waiting to get those results back. Speaking with the mayor, there are some potential positive news coming in regards to capital improvements within our school district. So we're hoping to get a little more involved in the capital improvement plan and keep those channels open with the mayor and her staff so that we're all on the same page. They had asked, actually, it was great to hear, but they had asked what our opinion was on what needed to be done within the schools. We kind of, Ms. Borges and I had given her some of our thoughts on the need. So hopefully we'll be able to incorporate that into the committee and move that forward from there. But I do look forward to having more involvement with the capital improvement plan. And once we meet on Thursday the 1st, we'll have some more guidance as to where we go with SLAM and the next directions, and we'll bring that back to the board and take whatever action is needed. Policy review, Mr. O'Brien.
Yes, we had a special meeting on Wednesday, January 17th at 4 p.m., which will be our normal meeting time. All the committee members are very appreciative of that time, especially since there are so many administrators. We have an energetic, diverse, and enthusiastic committee of 3 board members, Mr. Cormier, Mr. Henrik, and myself, and 5 town administrators and 1 university administrator. And we have 7 categories to look at. So I've asked each of the members to send me their top 3, and then at the next meeting we'll decide which 3 to tackle, because it's going to be a lot of work. So we'll go after the top 3 first. But I'm excited, looking forward to working with this committee. It's really a great committee, and we're going to update policies that some go back to the last century, actually, I think, and many from the early 2000s. So, not last century, but the 1900s. Yeah, I guess it was last century. But that's about it. But we'll be meeting every Wednesday every 3rd Wednesday at 4 p.m.
And I think it was also the recommendation of the attorney that we review some of the existing policies to bring them up to date. So it has been a while.
Things have changed.
Mr. Cormier, any comments on that? Okay. Athletic review, Mr. Kennedy's not here, I think.
I can give you a quick.
Mr. Carroll Fabian, you were there, right?
Add anything? Well, in vain, we had our meeting on Thursday, January 18th, and primary topic that we're going to spend some time researching is the transportation bus issues for the athletic teams. And I guess the saddest thing that happened was last fall, the cross-country team at Stratford High. We didn't make it because transportation wasn't available. So we're going to do some research and even look at the idea of purchasing a couple of vehicles of our own. But it's going to take a lot of work, so we'll be working on it. Anything you can think of that we discussed?
That was a large portion of it. We also discussed the successes of the unified sports programs, especially the growing number of participants, both of students with exceptionalities and non-exceptionality students at Bunnell High School, and that Stratford High School has now developed their own unified sports teams. We had some student athletes highlighted, and for all of those wondering, the all-state banners will begin being hung back up in the Stratford High School gym. Oh, and another thing another plug that was mentioned at the athletic review was the Hoops for Hearing that will be at Stratford High School on January 26th. It is a great program, and one of our very own students who has a hearing impairment, who plays many varsity sports and is a phenomenal athlete. Lauren Ogrodowitz will be there and will be playing, but it will be a fundraiser for Hoops for Hearing to help encourage other students of hearing impairments.
And then on February 8th, the Bunnell boys will play the Stratford High boys at Bunnell in their annual basketball game.
So come out and support them, whichever side you're on.
Right?
Bylaws Committee, we've moved our first meeting from January 24th to February 1st. It'll be prior to the planning meeting. The Naming Committee has been fully rostered. I'll speak with Mr. O'Brien about setting our first date. At this point, we have one application, and we'll go through that. My hope is that we can find some other members within our community to honor, whether it's groups or names or individuals. But my hope is that we can push this beyond just this one application and find some other members to honor. So, Personnel Committee, Ms. Bedell.
The Personnel Committee, we've been working to set up this committee, speaking with those that are involved in getting kind of set up to do whatever we're able to do with the Personnel Committee. So more to come.
Kate, Ms. Carol Fabian.
Sure. So last Friday, both Mrs. D'Angelo Powers and myself attended the CAPS breakfast that was held in Darien. We represented all of Stratford. There were several legislators there from various areas. We were fortunate to have actually the vice chair of the educational committee at this breakfast, so that was wonderful. Some of the big things that we covered and topics that we discussed were the kindergarten, the commitment to state funding to enable districts to support the continued needs for counselors, mental health staff, and other supports as the ESSER funding ends. We also discussed allowing local option to phase in the implementation of the kindergarten start date. One of the big topics brought up, especially by a lot of the inner cities, Bridgeport, Stamford, Hartford, which would even affect us here in Stratford, is that with this date being changed so quickly, while we are behind, right? Everybody else, most states have an earlier kindergarten date. I think the original plan was to kind of gradually move this date, and with everything, they've just moved it forward so fast that there will be a large group of children who are not eligible for kindergarten, and what that meant and the financial implications it would have. So one of the things that was discussed was, for instance, if you have like 1/3 of the kids who could have attended kindergarten in the coming school year that won't be eligible to attend, that will lower those number sizes. So we need the amount of staff that we have for that 1 year, but it will also cut back on the educational cost sharing funding that we will receive. So we will not be getting the amount of money that we had anticipated. So for instance, let's say if it was $5 million, we would be shortened next year. It's not just that impact on that year we have to take into consideration. That will continue to impact us every year for the next 13 years while that group of children continue on through our educational system. And so it was a large discussion around that and the implications. We also discussed the investment we need to make in programs that promote the training, hiring, and retention of educators of diverse backgrounds, and increase opportunities for districts to, grow your own programs, really taking advantage of our universities and using their internships and their student teachers and to then continue to train them and grow them and give us more potential for hiring. It was also kind of discussed in there with the teacher shortage and with the restraints that are put on retired educators and administrators, maybe lifting some of that so that we can tap into those specialty areas where we cannot hire someone, but the problem is that with retirement and their pensions, they can only work a certain amount of time and then they have to stop. So you can't hire them for like a long-term position. So there's talk about maybe relaxing some of those timelines so that teachers can fill in those specialty areas where there is such a shortage. And then the last thing that we covered was allowing flexibility in the implementation of the reading program mandate to recognize successful programs. Several districts who have very high achieving reading scores were denied waivers and with no explanation. And so really just kind of having a better understanding of this right to read mandate and the flexibility of what it could mean for other districts.
I'll ask if anybody has any questions for Ms. That was kind of a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Gail Fabian? No? Okay. All right. CES, Mr. Kennedy is not here, so town building needs. Does anybody have any information on CES that might be? No? Okay. Building needs, no report. No other reports. General good and welfare, before we stop, let me just check my cell phone, see if we got any news from Mr. Kennedy. Nope, not yet, so.
He's heading into C-section in about 5 minutes.
Really?
That's what he said.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we can wait, or we'll bring it up next meeting. Does anybody have any other good and welfare?
I do.
Mr. O'Brien?
I was glad to hear the Bunnell student representative mention that some of their students went to the Fletcher African American Museum, because I want to mention the 11 museums we have in town. And many of us encourage field trips, and we welcome them at the Veterans Museum and have some money to help with the buses. And we recommend 5th grade and above. And I received a letter that I shared with Mr. Henrik, and he said it would be a good one to read. January 6th it was sent. I want to thank you so much for sending me the banner of Charles Goulding that was displayed on Main Street during November of 2023. It is lovely, and it is hanging in my home. Charles was a Civil War veteran who lived in Stratford. As I read your website, it pleases me that you are educating young people about the value of American history. I believe our public education system is sorely lacking in that department. That doesn't apply to Stratford, it just applies to the rest of the country. All history, both the good and the bad, is an essential part of education. It is not taught. If it is not taught and learned, we are doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. And as always, my profound gratitude to you and the museum for the displaying and preservation of the memory of my ancestor, Charles Goulding. I believe he's the great-great-granddaughter. And she also sent along a very generous donation. And she lives in Florida. I think she discovered us on the website. And her nickname is Muffy Kelly. And she was glad to have me read it also, so just want to pass that on.
Thank you. Any other news? No?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
I believe Barham from Bunnell mentioned that there were some newspapers that the was going to pass on. You have them up. I'm interested.
All right, so we have newspapers at the end of the dais. At the end, we have some upcoming dates. I'm not going to read through them all, but you're all aware of the budget workshops coming up. February, and the rest of January, and February are going to be, more February, but February is going to be a very busy month for us. I've asked everybody to hold the 20th and the 22nd open. I'll keep you updated on those of February. I'll keep you updated on those dates. And then we will just continue to plug along, and appreciate all your support and help. And I want to thank staff, administration for sticking with us through this, through some of these times we've gone through in the last month. And hopefully, there are brighter days ahead, and we look forward to serving you all. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you.